Let's go! Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with your host, me, YemmytheFerret. I hope you're all doing fantastic this week, this weekend. Whenever you're listening to this, I hope you're having a good day. This is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. And of course, the last few episodes have been loaded. This one I feel like is a bit lighter in terms of just stories and stuff like that, so we might be able to cut it below an hour 30, but let's find out. Let's go ahead and start off with the first part of the show, which is, what have I picked up these past weeks? I accidentally said weeks. I'm not going to go back and fix it. Whatever. So this week, as I said before, it's a bit shorter. I'm sorry, it's a bit smaller in terms of game pickups, and I just wanted to emphasize, like, last week was an anomaly. I don't usually get that many games in general. Usually, I would say throughout most of the months, or through the weeks, I usually only pick up like 1 or 2 games at most. Last week was just crazy. It was just crazy. Lots of sales, lots of stuff going on. So this week is a little bit shorter. I just said shorter again. This week is a bit smaller. And let's start off with my first pickup, which was Homefront on the PS3. I decided to pick this up because it was only $3 at my local used store. And I didn't think that the game was going to run too well on a modern PC on Steam. It does have the manual in there. And, this is one of those games that had like a pass for obtaining online. You can only go online with a multiplayer pass. Yeah, there's a freaking code inside here for freaking multiplayer. That was a trend during the maybe not even early, sometime during the PS3 era. A bunch of games thought it would be funny to add in a cost for accessing multiplayer. One of those games was Homefront, and one that more affected me personally was Mass Effect 3. I actually had to buy that twice because my account got hacked, so I lost my access to the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. But that's Homefront. I think that in general, like, the cover is actually pretty good on this game. I don't actually remember really much about it other than that it was a pretty basic first-person shooter, but I just wanted to pick it back up and add it back to my collection. As I mentioned last week, you'll probably be seeing this a couple times where I just pick up a random, like, couple $1 game that used to be in my collection. During the PS3 and PS4 era, I would sell a lot of games. And later in the PS4 era, I stopped doing that when I had a stable job. But, I always kind of regret, or I have regretted getting rid of some of these games, especially this next one, which is PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale. This one was a staple of my PS3 library. The only reason I got rid of it, or I sold it, was because for a time it did go up in price, and so I sold it back in the day. I picked it up for $6 this past week. And if you don't know what this game is, this was this was Sony's answer to your Smash Brothers kind of games. It was a hero brawler. It included a good selection of PlayStation characters. Some of these characters we didn't ever see them again after this game, so it's a bit of a point in history. Look at that. This is also one that came with an online activation pass. Pretty cool. The one thing that actually was cool, no joke, about this was you got the Vita version for free if you owned the PS3 copy. So that's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. But I wanted to pick this back up. It's a goofy one. Is it like the best game ever? Obviously not. But Once again, it was a part of my collection back in the day. I just wanted to pick it back up. Now, of course, there are some games from my old collection that I probably won't get back, like Africa on the PS3. That game is like $100-something, and I kick myself every day for selling that. Also, I used to own Godzilla, the video game from 2014, and that is also a giant money sink nowadays. So once again, I do have my regrets in life, and selling those two games, which are now worth hundreds of dollars, are kind of one of those regrets. Or two of those regrets. Alright, let's move on to games that I did not own back in the day. This is Katamari Forever. So the story behind this is I was like, oh, I'm not going to be getting any more games this week. You know, I've spent too much money last week, and now this week I already bought a couple games. Well, eBay... Look, I like my eBay, okay? I know that it is a bit iffy sometimes, but eBay has been really good to me. This was being sold by a very small eBay user. I was going to say channel, but it's a user. And it was a bidding war. They did not do a buy it now option, and buying it now would have been like a $30 to $40 game. I did a bid. There was one other person bidding on it early on, but they didn't get back to it. I won this for $12.50, which is well below market price. It came in perfect condition. It has the manual, the disc. It's all good. I'm very happy to say that I got a good deal on this one. This game was the last one I needed for the console games in the Katamari series. I just need to get the one that was on the PlayStation Vita, which I don't even have a Vita, so it's not like a high priority for me. But, you know, just saying, like, this was one of the last ones that I needed to get before that, because I already do own beautiful Katamari. Here's a silly one that I picked up last week, but it didn't arrive till this week. This wasn't on... I mean, it was on sale, but it wasn't a part of, like, the big sale things. I saw this, and I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Well, okay, that's a little bit harsh. It is pretty dumb, though. Mozart Requiem. I don't know what the fuck this is. The game came, and the disc was loose, so I had to open it up, of course. I don't know what this is. It seems like a point-and-click kind of game. It definitely looks like it's a bit of a bargain bin kind of game. But Mozart Requiem, I thought that this was kind of funny, and I wanted to add this to my collection because that is such a funny fucking game. It's only $10 on Amazon. It was on sale, usual price, $20. And then... Finally for the new games this week, I picked up a game called 007 Everything or Nothing, and I had actually forgotten that this game existed. I thought that I had all of the PS2 era James Bond games, but this one was on my Amazon wish list that I made like years ago, and so I was like, oh shoot, I don't have that one. So I went ahead and I went on eBay and bought it. It was another. Actually, no. I went to my local shop and bought it for $14. I didn't go to Amazon. You know, this one I never played. This one I never had this one. So this is a new pickup, technically, even though it's a PS2 game. But yeah, pretty cool. I'm interested to play this one. This one came out after Nightfire. So who knows? It might be worse. It might be better. Actually, it probably won't be better. Nightfire is an excellent game. And then finally, I just wanted to show this one off because we're going to be playing it on Monday on the Twitch stream. I actually bought the Metal Slug Anthology a while back. It was at PAX East a couple years ago now. And Limited Run, of course, has a booth there, and they were selling overstocked items. And what do you know? This was the last copy of Metal Slug that they had on their shelf there. So I decided to pick it up because I'm a huge fan of Metal Slug. I love Metal Slug. Metal Slug was actually, if you don't know, I was gonna show if there was anything in the background. No, there's nothing in the background. If you don't know, Metal Slug was actually, I think it was the first video game that I ever played. Was the original Metal Slug, and after that, I loved video gaming. I got a Game Boy Color and a N64 eventually down the road, and this was the start of it all, was Metal Slug. And this is number 364 from Limited Run Games for the PS4. It's pretty cool. I usually don't like buying things from like limited run or super rare because it takes so long for them to actually get the games to you. Recently though, I have bought a couple of them or pre-ordered a couple of them because of the fact that like I'm not like too worried about playing them right away. That being Lollipop Chainsaw and Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition. But when you go to their booth at a place, they will just have a bunch of overstocked games that they save for the conventions. So that's where I got this, and I'll probably show it off eventually down the road. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was also there at the same time. But the Metal Slug Anthology, I thought I got to pick this up because this was one of my favorite series ever. And yeah, I'm excited to play that on Monday. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is what have I been playing this past week? All right, the one and only new game that I've been playing this past week is Conscript. This is a World War I Resident Evil inspired game. Now, it's not a like over-the-shoulder or fixed camera position type game, but it does have a lot of things that you could compare to like those old school Resident Evil games. So it's a top-down pixel art kind of game where you play as a soldier who is, you know, he joins the army, the French army, to fight in World War I, and his brother is also along with him for the ride. The beginning of the game kind of establishes like, okay, your brother's hurt, you find him, you get him to a bed, and you're like, I'm gonna come back to you later so I don't get shot in the back of the head by my commanding officer for leaving their post, right? So you go out there, you fight this big battle, the Germans overwhelm your forces, you get knocked out due to a club or whatever, and they throw you in with the dead bodies, and you wake up, and now the entire French army has retreated, the German army has blasted through, leaving behind, you know, a couple of troops here and there, and your goal is to then find your brother again. So it's that's about as far as I've gotten so far, and there's really no spoilers there for that part of the game because that is like the first like 30 minutes. And so far the game has been very interesting. It's been intense. It's been kind of weird, but it's also been really cool. I've really been enjoying my time with it so far. So the reasons why it's like relatable to Resident Evil. First things first, you need to stand in place and aim your weapon. You can't move around while you're aiming or fire while you're running around. You have to actually stand in place and aim either your rifle or you can ready your shovel or whatever melee weapon you have for an attack. And of course, there's also a pistol and a shotgun in there as well. So that's one of the main things that kind of relates it back to Resident Evil is standing in place and aiming your weapon, not being able to move while aiming your weapon. The other thing is it's a survival horror game, almost kind of, even though the Germans aren't zombies. It still kind of feels a bit survival horror-ish because World War I in general is a very intense. It was a very intense war. And I know this isn't like shocking news to anyone out there, but you know it was a very bloody and crazy war. Like you think of World War II, and like yeah, sure, World War II is a pretty bloody, crazy war. There are lots of people died during that, but the main battling of World War I was much more gritty. It was all between infantry for the most part. Eventually tanks were starting to be made to overcome the no man's lands and obstacles and stuff that they would have to overcome, but for the most part it was boots on the ground, trench warfare. It was disgusting, and this game kind of really emphasizes that, where the trenches are all kind of run down, they're raggedy, they're dirty, the soldiers are all coughing and moaning and moving around in ways that are like, yeah, they've been there for a while. The guns and the outfits are all covered in dirt and grime, and there's really no way to escape it until you have like these flashback sequences where you go back in time and you're running around the family farm. Plastered all around are also these posters that are supposed to be motivational, which I believe they took all the artwork from the real world and pixelized it a little bit and put it in the game, which is pretty cool, very authentic. And the game does try to be as authentic as it can be to the war. When you fire a rifle, you can't just like it takes a minute for him to recalibrate his rifle, and if you're reloading, you have to reload one bullet at a time. With the pistol, there is a clip, a magazine, and the shotgun also, of course, you load a single shell at a time. So it did try to be pretty realistic there. When you're fighting the Germans, obviously, you have to, like, I'm using mouse and keyboard, so you have to, like, hold right click to aim. Even your shovel, you need to ready your shovel for attack, and then you press left click. Wait, am I doing that wrong? No, you press left click to ready and aim, and then you press right click to actually go ahead and go through it. So you ready yourself with left click, and then you press right click at the same time to swing and attack. Or with the rifle, you aim, you press left click to aim, and then you fire the rifle. The nice thing about firing the rifle is you don't have to exactly wait for your crosshairs to center. You can just kind of pull it up and quickly fire if you need to. But it's obviously going to be better to try and aim your shot, aim for the head or something like that of the enemy. And as you go through the game, you start to get like it becomes harder to aim your rifle. You have like these, you have like the crosshair goes a little bit crazy, and there's like multiple colors on it, like kind of making like a like a weird like hazy effect. And you can actually drink alcohol in order to cure that for a small amount of time. But yeah, it's one of those things that's also pretty cool. Makes it a little bit more intense as you go on, because you start off the game and you're like, you can aim really well. You're super fast at swinging your stuff, and then once you get knocked out and you essentially get shell shocked, that's when the game starts to put on a bit more of like, okay, you're starting to kind of deteriorate mentally as well as physically. So it's pretty cool going through there now. The soundtrack is really good. It fits the mood of the game really well. Yeah, it's hard to really say much more about it without giving too much away. But if you want more like similarities to Resident Evil, the enemies are kind of meandering, kind of moving like zombies almost at times. They are kind of fast, and I guess that's the one thing that I actually don't like about the game so far is the enemies move so fast that you really don't have time to position yourself too well, especially because sometimes the camera is a little bit too low or a little bit to the left, so you can't really see them coming. So a lot of times it becomes a bit of a ring around the rosy situation where you're running around the trenches. You got a group of enemies following you, and you just take a pot shot here and there, or ready your weapon for a second here or there, and then start running again. So the gameplay loop hasn't been like wholly satisfying when the enemies don't die quickly or there's too many of them, because it turns out it just turns into, oh, I'm running around, I stop for a second when I have a chance, fire, hope I don't get hit, run away. It's just one of those things that I feel like they could have maybe done a little bit better with the overall combat system. Even though I enjoy it, it's not like perfect. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, there's puzzles in there mixed in there. There's lock codes you need to find, which are another thing that I would equate to being a Resident Evil-like-ish thing. Having those locker combinations, you need to find them. You do need to pay attention to like things that you're reading and things that you're looking up. So it's very cool. It's very cool so far. And compare it to like Amnesia: The Bunker, which kind of had the same gameplay loop of, okay, you're on the front line, you're fighting the war, you get thrown into a trench, and you get knocked out, and you wake up, and there's like no one around. There's like a monster trying to chase you, right? It's kind of similar in the way where both of these games are pretty intense and pretty grueling at times, but the base game is really good still, and I would totally recommend, if you're a fan of like Resident Evil type games, or if you like games that are like the older Resident Evil style, this would definitely be one to pick up. If you want a game that's a bit more challenging, obviously there's multiple difficulty modes, but the difficulty mode I'm on right now is the one that they want you to play the game at, and it's pretty tough so far. I gotta say, like, it's a pretty tough game for the concept being a pixel art top-down shooter, whatever, survival horror. Doesn't really sound like it should be too difficult, but it is. It's got some difficulty to it. So if you want a little bit more of a difficult game, maybe check out Conscript. It's only like $20 on Steam. It's a pretty good deal, and I've been enjoying myself so far. I don't know if it's going to be coming to other places in the future, but keep an eye out if you so desire. And yeah, that's pretty much all the new games that I've been playing. I mean, of course, I've been keeping up with like NES World Champions and NCAA. I've been playing a little bit of that here and there. Nothing really new to report on those games. NCAA seems to be falling apart a little bit. The physics have been a bit wonky. And even though I would say that it's still better than the latest Madden that came out, which was like 24, right, with Josh Allen on the cover. There are some cracks starting to form in NCAA in some ways, but I think the overall presentation and how the game feels and plays is still good. But there are some things that are still like a bit weird, like a little bit glitchy here and there. The biggest glitch that Greedy Waffles and I have run into is sometimes when he does like a screen pass, which is one where you throw the ball really quickly to a guy to the left or to the right, and he has some cover from the lineman. Sometimes his guy just won't have the button to throw to him over his head. He'll either be blocking or he won't do anything, which is kind of really annoying. Of course, for Greedy Waffles. It hasn't happened to me though, which I'm crossing my fingers hoping it doesn't happen. And then also just it's been a little like the tackling is a little bit weird. I think I mentioned this last time, but the tackling has felt a little bit weird. I haven't really gotten used to it, and no matter how many times I go into those mini games and practice doing it, it just doesn't feel good in a way. Like it feels like I should say it feels fine, but it doesn't feel super good. Like I feel like I hate to equate it to a Madden game, but you know when I played Madden and I hit the tackle button, I usually get the tackle. In NCAA, it's a bit risky because they change things around, and if you press square, it's more of like a wild tackle. You could totally miss or not fully wrap around the player. You can do shoves to left and right by flicking the stick left and right, which are fine. But you can do like a power hit with pressing the stick down or stick up. It's just one of those things you got to get used to. But I feel like the more I play, the more confused I get as to why my players aren't tackling as well as they should be, even though I'm pressing the right buttons and doing the right stuff. And of course, yeah, sometimes it is my fault. You know, I get that. But there are some times I feel like, that was a bit sus. And yeah, but I'm still enjoying NCAA. I think the presentation, the gameplay, and all that, it's still pretty good. And I'm working my way through the road to the NFL kind of game mode where you start off as a character and you go through their college career. So my guys, he's a running back. I think I joined the Huskers, right? I don't know why I'm asking you this because you don't know. I joined the Huskers so I could start first. You know, I could be a starter. It's pretty cool. You play on downs and stuff like that where they're running the ball or you're on the field. It's pretty cool. I've always enjoyed modes like this, and this one's the most fleshed out that it has been in a while since last time I played one, so it's not too bad. NES World Championship or World Champions NES Edition. Not much else to say about it right now. I'm almost done with it. I'm just going through the last of like the legendary challenges, speedrun challenges, and they are like those legendary ones are no joke. Like the last one for the original Mario Bros was really tested me. Like it's one of those things that's like, yeah, you have to go through multiple levels, go through multiple enemies. So I'm interested to see how the Metroid ones are going to go and the Lost Levels ones are going to go. It might be a game where I might put it down for a little while, come back to it. I'm going to try and finish it up this weekend, but we'll see what happens. So that's all the games that I've really been playing this week. Here are games that I've been playing on stream. So we played Super Mario World. This is a 2D Mario game, of course, and look, I'm not a huge 2D Mario game fan. It's one of the reasons why NES Championship has been taking me a little bit longer than it probably should. Is because a lot of those old Mario games, they're very slick, they're very slippery, they're very floaty. I mean, one of the reasons why I love Donkey Kong Country is because Donkey Kong feels like a gorilla and Diddy Kong feels like a chimp. Like their moves feel good. Mario, though, I don't like the way that he feels in almost any of the 2D Mario games that I've ever played. And sure, I do like Super Mario Wonder, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but I have the same issue where it's like it just doesn't feel great, and I've tried multiple characters and whatever. It just doesn't feel like it's a me thing. I know it's a me thing, but it's just one of those things. I've never been a huge 2D Mario fan, and Super Mario World, even though it's got beautiful pixel art graphics and the soundtrack is fun, I just once again I just really couldn't get into it as much as other people. I still enjoyed the game, and I thought that it was fine going through it, but it's just one of those things that I really wish that I did like it more, but I just can't force myself to like something more than I already do. So in terms of like, how the game plays and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, there's more going on. Like you have those little spin jumps, and you have the cape, and you have all those other different things that help you out. And I mean, it's all fine. It's all fine and dandy. I just I'm just not like super into 2D Mario. So, even though I enjoyed myself, it was probably one of the more enjoyable 2D Mario experiences that I've had. I'm still like not jumping out of my seat, going to play another 2D Mario game, So, in the end, I gave it a 3 out of 5 or a C tier, and it's like I said, it's not like I hated the game. I just thought, it's fine. What are you gonna do? I also played Medal of Honor Pacific Assault. I had to finish this one offline because I was getting too frustrated with it. But I did end up finishing it myself. When I quit stream, I was just kind of out of it. I went back to it a couple hours later, and I only had like 5 minutes left of the game, which was very disappointing. But I went ahead and I finished it, and take all my frustrations and pain and annoyance and being annoyed with the game in general aside, this is a very basic first-person shooter, especially for the World War II genre. Like, does it try to do a few different things? Sure. Does it try to be more accurate to the time period? Yes. The Marines have yellow grenades instead of green grenades. That's very time accurate, time accurate, historical accurate. But it doesn't, like, the game doesn't feel great, one. Two, a lot of the levels are literally just like go through the forest, kill a bunch of enemies, and then you're done. And it was just getting redundant after a while. Eventually, the levels did get better as you went on. The last like group of levels was actually pretty good. The last like 2 or 3 levels were pretty good. But everything else before that was just like so dragging your feet kind of things. And also, like, they tried to do Pearl Harbor in this one. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the opening's pretty good where you're driving around Pearl Harbor and you're seeing the sights and you're having, like, a tour of the facility. But then, like, you get onto a boat and you're shooting down the Japanese Zeros. And then they're like, go inside this ship. So you're randomly inside the ship while, you go through, like, a hole in the ship and you're inside of it. And then you're doing stuff on the inside of the ship. I just feel like Rising Sun, which came out a few years before that, a couple more than a few years, a while before this one, it did Pearl Harbor just so much better. It really did. It starts you in the ship. You have to work your way out of the ship with fire extinguishers and stuff like that. Everything's blowing up. You get to the top deck. You're defending your ship. You shoot down torpedoes, and you shoot the Zeros that are in the sky that are around you, and then you get into like a little craft, and then you drive around, right? So it's one of those things. I feel like it's like the game does it fine, but Rising Sun does it better. That's all I'm saying. As for my frustrations and annoyances, so throughout the entire game they were teasing that you could command your squad, but I could never do that, and I don't know why. I was playing on the regular difficulty. I didn't change any other options for the game at all, but for some reason, anytime I pressed one of the buttons to tell my soldiers what to do, there was just a red X through it. So I never figured out how to change that or actually command my squad in general. Probably would have helped out a lot because I did get stuck a few times in some very frustrating situations, and my squad would just kind of be like retreating automatically, and I was like, what are you guys doing? We need to push forward right now. I'm like I'm in the field of duty, in the Call of Duty right now. The other thing that I was like kind of half and half on was there was a medic in the group, and the only way for you to get back into the fight was to call over the medic, and he would come over and heal you. If you were downed, if he couldn't get to you in time, you would have to restart checkpoint. I thought it was a cool idea, but I think that they still should have had like some sort of regenerating health system in there, simply because, like, I would be running on like 1 HP and a prayer for quite some time. And I was like, if they could just like have me go back to like 25% health, that would be great. So I could at least take one bullet, and not die. And there was some times in the later parts of the game where, like a machine gun, you would heal yourself, and then a machine gun would hit you a couple times, and now you're back to 2% health. And it was like, if I could just get like a little bit of a boost here, And sure, you can find some medic equipment in the field, but usually it's just going to be the corpseman who comes around and heals you. And I was like, it's fine, but it's not. I don't prefer this way of doing it over medkits just being on the ground or regenerating health. Other than that, I didn't enjoy the game at all. I thought that it was very boring. I thought that it didn't really do anything super cool. Like I do appreciate the historical accuracy of it all, but in the end, it compromised the overall gameplay, which is a little bit more important to me in a lot of ways. And even though I really like when games are historically accurate, you gotta also think about making the game fun, which is, in the end, when Airborne came around and other games in the Medal of Honor series came around, it did end up working, having some more historical stuff in there, but also, exaggerating things to make it more fun. That did eventually happen, with Airborne and stuff like that. But, this one just, it's a rough one. I ended up giving it a 1 out of 5. I would not recommend it. And then we also played Super Sammy Roll. I did not finish this one, and I did not go back and finish it. I was kind of I had some high hopes for it. I thought it was going to be kind of cute. It's this game where you play as like this little lizard guy who can roll around and use his tongue to platform. But it ended up just being like a really big knockoff of like several different games. Like it had a very similar style to Mario 3D World. It had a very similar, obviously the little dude can roll into a ball very much like Sonic, but there was also things that reminded me of a lot of Sonic. There was also some things that reminded me of Super Monkey Ball. And there was just, throughout the entire playthrough, I was just like, oh, there's something from Super Mario. There's something from Sonic. I felt like they were wearing their inspirations too close to their chest. There's one thing to be inspired by a game, and there's another thing to copy from the game. And being inspired from the game it would be using the creature's tongue to do some platforming, swing from from like poles and stuff like that. To copy off of the game would be something like having a Goomba-like character that is literally just a Goomba, but instead of it being a Goomba, it's like a traffic cone with little feet that goes side to side. Instead of it being a Hammer Bro, it's a ninja turtle who throws, energy beams at you. Instead of it being a cloud that blows you off of things, it's a weird one-eyed cyclops floating thing that breathes and moves you off of things. It's just, I get it. You're inspired by these different games, but you really got to differentiate yourself from them more, because in the end, it was just super frustrating and annoying to keep seeing things that were inspired by other games. Also, the game didn't work too well. I think that's more of a major thing, is the game didn't work too well. The platform was inconsistent. There were times where my momentum was inconsistent for no reason other than the game just wanted to screw me. I was getting very frustrated by the end of it, and I decided to quit. And then I decided later that day, I'm not going to go back to it and finish it offline. I'm just going to call it a day, because I was just having so little fun with it in pretty much since the beginning. The first couple levels were fun, but then I just got into a rut of not enjoying it. And yeah, that's all I want to say about that. If you developed the game and you're watching this, it's a great attempt, but try to be a bit more unique with everything, because it was way too similar to 3 games that are very distinct. And it's so funny that you can see all 3 of those games right in front of your face. Sonic, Super Monkey Ball, Super Mario World, 3D World. Yeah, it's not going to fly. I'm not going to support that level of inspiration, we'll say. And then last but not least, for games that we finished on stream, or played on stream, Piku Niku. This is a game that's been on my list for quite some time. I'm happy to say that it wasn't a complete disaster. It was not a complete disaster, but it's one of those things. It's like, okay, it kind of reminded me of Choo Chill a little bit, where it's like, okay, I get what they're going for. I think it's kind of funny. I like the art style. I think some of the puzzles are okay at best, but I was really kind of hoping for more in there. And obviously there is a bit more that could do with like some side missions and stuff like that. But I decided, you know what, I'm good for now. So Pikanuka though, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was average. I don't think I'd ever play it again or go back and finish up like the side content, but it was fun for what it was, and what more can you ask for? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. Okay, first up in the news here is the video game performers, voice actors, etc. have gone on strike starting on July 26. The SAG-AFTRA video game strike started over concerns relating to AI usage in the industry. Now, if you don't know, AI has really grown over the past couple of years. They can pretty perfectly mimic a lot of people's voices, and there were a lot of voice actors in the gaming community specifically who were very opposed to this, and they didn't like it. So when the SAG-AFTRA actors went on strike originally, they were really hoping that something was going to be put in place for AI to to stop AI usage for their voices. Steve Blum was a big voice in there. Jim Cummings also a big voice as well, not wanting his voice likeliness to be used for AI in video games. So what ended up happening back then was Fran Drescher, the leader of the SAG-AFTRA guild, I guess you could call it, came to some sort of conclusion with like an AI software developer, which was very weird at the time. I remember reading it and talking about it on the podcast here during all that kerfuffle, and I was like, this is a very weird thing to come to some sort of agreement with this AI studio. It didn't seem right. There were some fishy things in there, and I think that after she made that deal, Steve Blum and other video game voice actors were like, what is this? Like, we didn't want to agree to this. Like, this is exactly what we were fighting against, allowing them to use our voices in any way. So, of course, they have to go back to the drawing board, and now, what is it, about a year after the original strikes in the actors community, now the video game industry actors and performers are on strike now as well. The publishers who they were in talks with, who they reached a stalemate with, who wouldn't budge, were Activision, Disney, EA, Insomniac Games, Take-Two, and Warner Brothers. In a post, they said, "We're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Enough is enough. When these companies get serious about offering an agreement our members can live and work with, we will be there ready to negotiate." And that was a quote directly from Fran Drescher herself. So these different studios, I guess these are the ones that didn't come to an agreement with the Actors Guild. So any actors who are working with these studios are probably the ones who are on strike. We've seen some AI stuff here working its way into the video game world. I mean, there's plenty of shovelware games that get put onto like the Switch eShop and the PS4 and PS5 PlayStation Store and Steam that are completely AI generated. Whether it's just the thumbnails or the games themselves, they just look very AI-esque. So I think that once they start to crack down on these types of things on the storefronts, that'll push. Maybe that'll push more in the direction of real art again. And of course, we've all heard like AI covers of things. It's not uncommon to hear like an AI voice cover of whatever. More recently, there was like a Star Wars fan film that came out that was using AI voices for Han Solo and Princess Leia and Lando Calrissian, and it's just one of those things that like I mean, the little slideshows that they're using are very AI art inspired. The voice lines are all AI voices. It just doesn't work entirely, right? It doesn't feel right. It's off. And you can start to see that with the video game stuff as well. When you have a video game that uses an AI voice, like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, it sticks out like a sore thumb among the sea of people who are actually voicing the characters. So hopefully they can reach some sort of agreement with these companies and SAG-AFTRA. The companies actually, I believe there was a statement by the companies that were like, "Oh, you agreed to 24 of the 25 things. Why can't we, work together on this one?" Oh, here's the quote. So this is coming from Audrey Cooling, who is a spokesperson for the Interactive Media Agreement. I don't know what that is. They said, "We are disappointed the union has chosen to walk away when we are so close to a deal. We remain prepared to resume negotiations. We have already found common ground on 24 of the 25 proposals, including historic wage increases and additional safety provisions. Our offer is directly responsive to SAG-AFTRA's concerns and extends meaningful AI protections that include requiring consent and fair compensation to all performers under the IMA." So, right there is very telling. Compensation and consent, that's fine, but why can't we just use the actual voice actors? Why do they need to use AI voices? If you have Jim Cummings here and he's doing a voice for the next Fallout game, why do we then need AI Jim Cummings instead of the real Jim Cummings? He's right there. He's willing to do the part. He just wants to be paid fairly. So the studio's going to be like, "Oh, let's use the AI voice because that's cheaper. All we need to do is have them consent, and then we'll pay them a less sum." Like, there's no way that they're going to be paid the same amount as they would if they actually went into this and voiced the lines themselves. If you're using an AI, in general, it's going to cost you less money no matter what you say to me. It's a fact. It's a fact. So I'm hoping that Fran Drescher and the rest of the people who represent the union are firm in their standing, where it's like, no AI voices at all. It doesn't matter if there's consent. It doesn't matter if there's compensation. If you have Steve Blum, use Steve Blum. If you have Yuri Lowenthal, use Yuri Lowenthal. Why do we need to use an AI voice over the actual people? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. So, that being said, we'll see what happens with this. Maybe it'll be done in a week. Maybe it'll be done in a month. This is affecting some games' schedules, but it already came out that GTA 6 would not be affected by this, and a couple of other games coming out this year and next and early next year are not being affected by it as well. But we will see if this starts to affect other studios, puts a little bit more pressure on the studios that are not agreeing to these proposals. We'll see what happens in the future, but as of right now, we'll just keep track of it and see where it goes. Mortal Kombat 1. They were at the San Diego Comic-Con this year, and they revealed their next batch of DLC for the game. Not only that, but the next batch of DLC is actually a whole new story add-on for the game, along with 6 new characters and some other things mixed in there as well. So this DLC will take place after the main events of Mortal Kombat 1, of course. This DLC is going to be called Khaos Reigns. It's going to expand the story of the game with an all-new cinematic narrative. In a press release, they said, when a perilous threat arrives from an alternate timeline led by the ruthless Titan Havoc, whose sole mission is to throw the realms into chaos, Liu Kang must rally his champions and put faith in his enemies to defeat this grave danger. If they fail, the new era will be reduced to anarchy. And the stuff that they showed off was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. I didn't really enjoy Mortal Kombat 1 as much as I thought I would, so I'm definitely not interested in picking up this DLC at least right away, especially because it's $49.99 and there's no way to buy things a la carte, like, oh, you can just buy the story for $30, or oh, you can just buy the characters for $10 a pop. No, it doesn't seem that way right now. It seems like you can only buy the entire package for about $50, which is pretty crazy. I don't like that at all, because maybe I just want to buy the story add-on. Maybe I just want to buy Conan the Barbarian or whoever else, right? But you can't do that. You need to buy the whole package as one. So yeah, like I said, the story trailer was pretty good. They showed off some of the characters who are coming out day one with the DLC. They also showed off how this Titan Havoc guy works. I think it's really cool how he's able to rip off his body parts and fight with his body parts. And they show a couple of things here and there that's pretty interesting. And then after all was said and done, they finished off the showing of the game with the animalities, however you say it, the animal fatalities. That's coming for free the same day as the DLC comes out. So you'll be able to use the animalities even if you don't have the DLC, which if you don't know what they do. Each character has like their own spirit animal. They morph into them, and then they defeat the opponents in various ways as animals. So in the trailer, they showed like a praying mantis, a hippo, a hyena. I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. So along with the new storyline, Combat Pack 2 is giving you new characters. So on day one, alongside the new campaign, Noob Saibot, Cyrax and Sector will be available to play as right away. Now, Noob Saibot is very similar to the old Noob Saibot. It's still Bihan as well, so there's that. Cyrax and Sector, though, have a gender swap done to them, which is kind of weird. There are plenty of Mortal Kombat female characters who aren't in Mortal Kombat 1. Like, yes, I like the diversity of the roster. I think there is a good amount of both men and women and other things in there. But this just doesn't, like, either add Cyrax or Sector as, like, male, and then have, like, I don't know, one of the characters who isn't in the game, actually. Like, Sonya Blade is not an actual playable character. She's just a cameo fighter. Or Chameleon. Or there's so many female representation for the game that there's not. Jade is another big one as well. Jade's not on the main roster either. I feel like we could have added either Cyrax or Sector and then had like a female character, but instead they gender bent both Cyrax and Sector, which on a base level is fine. But as a fan of Mortal Kombat, they're definitely gonna explain it in the campaign, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, did we do this to any other character in the base game? No, so why are we doing this now? Or make it like a skin or something like that, a palette swap, where you can switch between the male and female versions. I just don't understand why we need to do this now, and why we didn't do this for the main campaign. Like, cause there's a bunch of characters from the main campaign who were gender bent in like cutscenes and stuff like that, or you fought like a version of them who was gender bent. But it wasn't like a main fighter for the game. All the fighters were their respective genders. It's just a little bit weird to see Cyrax and Sector get the gender swap kind of thing happening to them when no one else in the game has. And a lot of people are fans of Cyrax and Sector. Me personally, I really like Cyrax from Mortal Kombat 9. I thought he was a great character back then. And we haven't really seen Cyrax and Sector as full-blown characters for a little while. I know there was like the Tri-Robos from like Mortal Kombat 11. And I think that Cyrax and Sector were like they were kind of like combatants in the last game in 11, but they weren't like a full-blown character. So I don't know. Let me know what you all think. I mean, I'm not like super upset about it, but it's still like, as a fan of Mortal Kombat, it's like I kind of wish that we just got Cyrax and Sector. Like, I don't mind that they're being gender swapped per se, but it's just one of those things that's like, couldn't this have just been like a special thing that happens in the game, or like a special skin that they get in the game that you can swap out, kind of like the Flash and Reverse Flash in Injustice 2, you know? I don't know. It's very weird to me. But the guest fighters are pretty cool. Funny enough, Arnold Schwarzenegger makes his return as Conan the Barbarian. In Mortal Kombat 11, he was the Terminator, and this game he's Conan the Barbarian. There is a Terminator character, though, in this one. T-1000 will be joining, which is the, I think it's from Terminator 2, right? He's kind of the one that can kind of like morph and whatever. And then also Ghostface will be joining the battle as well, which I think is a really good addition to the game. Now, Mortal Kombat X was very heavy on the horror icons. That's the one that had Predator and Alien and Jason Voorhees and stuff like that. So I feel like Ghostface would have been a good addition back then. Nowadays, like, yeah, it's still a cool addition, but what's the theme of this pack? Like, this pack really doesn't have a theme. The first pack, it was very much like anti-heroes or villains. You had Homelander, you had the guy from Invincible in there. You know, I thought that the group of characters from Combat Pack 1, Peacekeeper as well, were very uniform, very good. This pack is very weird to me. And maybe it's kind of like, okay, so Noob Saibot Ghostface, kind of like a similar thing there, right? No, I guess not really similar, but like Noob Saibot has a ghost, Ghostface is like a guy dressed as a ghost, right? Cyrex and Sector are both like mechanical kind of beings. T-1000 mechanical. Conan the Barbarian is the only one that doesn't really make sense in this situation. He's kind of an oddball out there, but you know, whatever. So anyway, I mean, once again, I'm not like super upset about anything from this trailer. I thought it looked pretty good in general. I think the DLC is gonna be fine. I'm personally not going to buy it for $50. I mean, that's the price of a whole new game at this point, and I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of. I'm sure there'll be plenty of you know, extra story added and stuff like that. I'm sure it's going to be a full-fledged campaign mode, but $50 is a bit pricey in my opinion, and I'll probably just wait for like a sale or maybe even like an Ultimate Edition. Well, no, because I already have the game physically, so yeah, I'll probably wait for a sale and pick it up eventually down the road. Okay, the PSVR2 app for PC is now live on Steam. If you go over to the Steam store page, you can actually wishlist the PSVR2 app for Steam. So there's no purchase necessary, I don't believe. But you will need to buy the PSVR2 adapter, which will be required to connect your headset to the PC for about $60, which is... $60 for a freaking cable is pretty ridiculous in my opinion. I mean, when I was using the Oculus for PC VR gaming, that cable was also kind of pricey, but I got a longer version of the cable for like $50, so even then it's still pretty pricey. But it's just it's crazy how much money it's going to cost just to connect this thing to your PC. And now, I mean, it does need this adapter, I suppose, to function. I was really hoping that you could just plug and play it, but I think it's because you need to connect the controllers to this little box that it comes with is the reason why you need all that stuff. But the Steam page is up now. Not much to really say about it. It just simply says enjoy VR games and apps on Steam with PlayStation VR 2. Install the PSVR 2 app and use the PSVR 2 on your PC. Set up your PSVR devices and keep the firmware of the headset up to date and the DualSense controllers up to date as well. But yeah, I mean, essentially the Steam page just kind of shows some screenshots of how you set it up. You connect the headset, you can connect the controllers, put it on your face, etc., etc. And there's really not much else to say about it other than, you know, it seems like it's going to be at least functional. I don't know. What can I say? What can I really say? Not much. But yeah, once you get this, you'll be able to play VR games from your Steam library. They keep saying Half-Life Alyx in here, which is of course probably a big one for sure for the PSVR community. But you know, there you go. Here are the operating system requirements from the Steam page to run the VR headset. So Windows 10 64-bit or Windows 11 64-bit, a Intel Core i5 7600, and AMD Ryzen 3 3100, Zen 2 or later architecture is required. 8 gigabytes or more of RAM/memory. The GPU or graphics card that you need would be NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 or later. NVIDIA RTX series, AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT or later, or an AMD Radeon RX 6500 XT or later. A DisplayPort 1.4 must have a standard DisplayPort or mini DisplayPort output port. There needs to be a USB connection, direct connection only, and you need Bluetooth 4.0 or later. So there are some workarounds or roadblocks that you need to overcome. I would definitely recommend checking your PC before purchasing this cable. 1, a whole headset just to play on the PC. 2, or 3, trying to do this in general. It seems like it's going to be a bit of a hassle to work around, but as for the time being, if you do have those things available with your computer, you have the headset, you have the cable, you're good to go. Okay, Ubisoft has responded to some criticism about the game. They've apologized to their Japanese fan base for. They didn't really specifically say. They didn't really. I'm going to read through the whole post, the 4-page post that they did. So, sit back and relax, get a cup of tea, But keep in mind, they really didn't apologize for anything specifically. And the main thing about apologies is you do need to recognize what you're apologizing for in the apology. Now, a lot of people have been like, "Oh, they're apologizing for the banner that they used that I talked about last week, the anachronistic banner that they used in one of the concept arts." And more vocal people have been saying, "Oh, they're apologizing for having not a true samurai, whatever they want to say, right?" And even though I don't 100% know the history around these different characters, I do know that Assassin's Creed has always been historical fiction. When you start up every single game, it has the same message. It's inspired by historical events and characters. It's a work of fiction designed and developed by a multicultural team of various beliefs, sexual orientations, and gender identities. Obviously, it's been updated throughout the years, but it's one of those things. It's like, it's kind of been like a staple of Assassin's Creed to twist and bend history. And sure, some people could say, "Oh, they're rewriting history," but then again, it's like, are we? If look at it from like any, I don't even know how to respond to that. They're not rewriting history. History's already been written, and even then, like the stuff that they are working with in this game, we don't 100% know who these people were. We don't 100% know what happened during that time period, right? We kind of know because we have some sort of things going on, but it's like, okay, is it not rewriting history to have the Apple of Eden like in Ezio's hands? Like does the Apple of Eden actually exist? I don't think so. In Assassin's Creed Unity, does that sword that is kind of like the Apple of Eden exist? I don't think so. They rewrote a lot of the French Revolution in that, having Napoleon be there and all that stuff. Yeah, it's very much like recency bias, right? Like, oh, they see like, oh, this is what happened. This is what they're doing for this game, but they kind of forget that like every other game in the past has also done this historical fiction thing on it. And once again, the main point is that Assassin's Creed is historical fiction. It's not like nothing. Like there's. It's historical fiction at the end of the day. That's the bottom line. It's historical fiction. If you want a more historically accurate representation of the time period, there are plenty of other games you can go to and play. Even Ghost of Tsushima gets stuff wrong. There is a whole video detailing how samurai actually weren't that angry with people who did stealth stuff. It was actually not frowned upon at all. And that's what they rolled with throughout the entire Ghost of Tsushima. But it's believable because it feels historically accurate, even though it's historical fiction. So take that with what you will. I'm going to read through this entire thing. Let me take a sip of water for this one. All right. To our esteemed Japanese community, a message from the Assassin's Creed Shadow development team. First, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for all your support for the Assassin's Creed series, which has now had its own history spanning almost 20 years. Over this time, we have explored various settings, time periods, and characters, from an assassin during the Third Crusade to a Viking from 9th century England, and countless more. For many of our team, creating an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan has been a long cherished dream. Since the announcement of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have received many positive reactions, but also some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. We share your passion for history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. We would like to address a few points to clarify our intentions and decisions. Next slide. Overall authenticity efforts. We have put significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. However, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history, or historical characters. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about the historical setting we are inspired by. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. Our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices. So once again, let me just harken back to what I was saying, where it's like, did Benjamin Franklin simply, discover electricity to open up a box, a map that reveals the locations of artifacts across the world? I don't think so. So don't take it too seriously. Next slide. Despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional material have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. All game footage presented is so far is in development, and the game will keep evolving until launch. Based on the constructive criticism we have received, we will continue our efforts until we push the game into your hands and beyond. We also want to clarify that while we have been consulting with many people throughout the development process, they are in no way responsible for the decision that are taken by the creative teams in the interest of gameplay and entertainment. Consequently, we respectfully request that any criticism not be directed to our collaborators, both internal and external. Next slide. Creative liberties and historical inspirations. While we strive for authenticity in everything we do, Assassin's Creed games are works of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experiences. The representation of Yasuke in our game is an illustration of this. His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. While Yasuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. We have woven this carefully into our narrative, and with our other lead character, the Japanese shinobi Naoi, who is equally important in the game, our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. We greatly value your feedback and encourage you to continue sharing your thoughts respectfully. While we understand that meeting everyone's expectations is very difficult, we sincerely hope that when Assassin's Creed Shadows launches on November 15th, players in Japan and around the world will appreciate our dedication, effort, and passion we have poured into it. The end. So once again, I don't really feel like they really apologize for anything, nor do I really feel like they need to apologize for anything. I mean, there's been plenty of historic, Assassin's Creed games out there that probably could have been under some scrutiny for what they did. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed 3. Look at Black Flag. Look at Unity. Look at, not really Syndicate, I guess. That's a bit of an outlier. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. I'm trying to think of also other games that have written history that they're going off of, which is most of them. But the big ones are the earlier Assassin's Creed games. They always twist things and work things into this greater fictional narrative. And once again with this, it's we're taking this historical figure who was a real person, and we are twisting it. We're twisting the story. We're turning them into a character for this game. I mean, when you meet George Washington in Assassin's Creed 3, is it a historically accurate, real rendition of George Washington? I don't think so, but he's in the game and it's cool, right? I mean, I like the line that they made about we're inspired by these real events and figures, and we try to incorporate these fantasy elements to craft a more engaging and immersive experience. And the representation of this person in the game is an illustration of just how they want to work these real historical figures into the elements of the game. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of Japanese figures in the game too, historical Japanese figures in the game too. They're just not going to be the main characters, which also maybe that's one of the reasons for some contention with the game as well. Is well, if it's a game set in Japan, why isn't there a Japanese main protagonist? It's just a co-protagonist, And you can kind of see where people are coming from. But then again, no one was really complaining when Valhalla had two different key players. Syndicate had two different main protagonists. Odyssey had two main protagonists. No one really cared until now when it's two very different main protagonists, but still two main protagonists. I don't know. Let me know what you think in a non-toxic way down below if you so desire. For me personally, I can't really comment too much simply because I'm not immersed in the culture, but I will say I think that people are maybe are going a bit overboard with this whole thing, and I don't. Yeah, Assassin's Creed has always been historical fiction. They've always twisted things in ways that make it not historically accurate. This is, I mean, no matter what you say, it's still historical fiction at the end of the day, and that's all that really matters. All right, let's move on. Mario and Rabbids, the director of both of the games, Sparks of Hope and Kingdom Battle, has left Ubisoft after 25 years. A lot of people remember him because during the original launch of the game, or the showing of the game at E3 2011 or something like that, whenever it was, they did a little camera pan over to him in the crowd after Miyamoto took the stage, and he was very emotional. He was crying. He was so happy. He was crying. This was unprecedented, having Miyamoto and Mario and the creator of Rabbids and Ubisoft on stage together. It was a collaboration of a lifetime that we probably won't see too much more in the future. But that was during 2017's E3. I'm sorry, I was way off with that one. I apologize. Yeah, after 25 years of working on both of the Mario and Rabbids games, he decided to leave the studio in search of another opportunity. On Twitter, he said, "Hi, all folks. After 25 years, 11 of which beautifully spent working on with Nintendo on Mario and Rabbids along the company of incredible community of players, I've decided to leave Ubisoft to embark on a new adventure. I can't say more now. Thanks a lot for everything, truly." So we don't know what he's doing yet, but I'm sure it'll be something fantastic. I'm sure he led these two pretty well received games. I don't think they ever had too much criticism lobbied towards them. I think most people really enjoyed them, and yeah, once again, very good tenure there. I'm sure he'll find a good job. I don't see him not. Okay, so here's some upsetting news. The entire Humble Games team staff has reportedly been laid off. All 36 employees in the studio were affected. So Humble Games have brought us games like Signalis, which was a huge game last year, I'm pretty sure it was. Lots of people love that game. It got so many good reviews. Unpacking, the same people who brought us Unpacking, which I didn't enjoy too much, but there's a lot of people who love Unpacking. Slay the Spire, one of the biggest games that they ever put out, was probably I think it was the first one that they put out. That was a huge success. There's a sequel coming out, and then Midnight Fight Express, which also came out last year or 2 years ago, got pretty good reviews as well. So it's reported that all 36 of these people have been laid off. One of the 2D artists and senior quality assurance developers named Emily Kiefer shared a post on X and LinkedIn revealing that the entire team had been let go as part of a restructuring inside of Humble Games. And in a report by PSU, I'm not sure who that is, Humble Games stressed that it does not mean that the publisher is shutting down, and that currently ongoing projects will not be affected. In the statement provided to the outlet, they said, in short, the company is not shutting down, but it's undergoing restructuring. Ongoing projects and upcoming releases are not affected and will continue to be supported and published by Humble Games. So it's very strange that this restructuring just so happened to affect every single staff member at the studio. That's pretty crazy. There's cleaning house and there's restructuring, and this is definitely a cleaning house situation where they took everyone inside of Humble Games and laid them off to make way for something else. Who knows what, but this is very disappointing, especially because Humble Games have put out some really high-quality indie titles. Humble Games also supports a lot of charities. They do a lot of charity work. There's, they work with so many studios and publishers to make these bundles of games for people to buy and then support charities like St. Jude's and stuff like that. It's just so disappointing to see this from one of those high-profile, usually noble-intentioned kind of publishers, studios, etc. Very disappointing to see. So hopefully those people, all those 36 people, will find new work. Maybe they'll be rehired by Humble in the coming years or coming weeks. Who knows? But as of right now, bad look for the studio. Like a Dragon Yakuza. So I think it was like last week or the week before that, the developers behind the Yakuza series came out and said, hey, keep watch. There's going to be something new for the Yakuza series being shown off soon. We didn't really know what that was. Was it going to be a new Like a Dragon game? Was it going to be a new blah, 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 blah? Turned out to be a Amazon Prime show. They showed off a teaser trailer for Amazon Prime Video called Like a Dragon Yakuza. Basic name right there, but it gets the point across. The opening sequence is pretty cool. It's like an old style tattoo artist working on the main protagonist's tattoos on his back. They show some clips of some characters here and there, some money here and there, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Nothing too concrete, of course. It doesn't look like it's going to be bad, but also we haven't really seen enough about it to really give an opinion so far. But I think that in terms of teaser trailers, doesn't look too bad. Might be pretty cool. I look forward to seeing more about that. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl has once again been delayed, this time all the way into November. It was supposed to launch sometime in October, right? No, it's supposed to launch sometime in October, I guess. And now they delayed it again to November. At this point, I really feel like just delay it to next year at this point. I don't know why they keep having to push it back, but it's because they keep setting these goals and they keep missing these goals. It's just give yourselves more time. At one point it was delayed indefinitely, and that was fine. But then a month or so later, they're like, and it's coming out in October. And I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, it's definitely not going to be coming out in October. And so now they have a November 20th release date. Who knows if we're going to stay at that date at this point. But yes, it's still coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. Yes, this is the new time frame for the game. No, it's still not rated. No, they haven't shown off much more about the game. But they do plan on having a in-depth look on August 12th. They'll be sharing some work directly with Xbox and unveiling the most comprehensive look yet at Stalker 2, featuring never-before-seen content, interviews, behind-the-scenes footage. I want more gameplay, though. We've only seen real short snippets of gameplay with a little bit longer gameplays here and there. But at this point, I don't know if they'll actually release this in November. And once again, this is one of those games that was affected heavily by the war in Ukraine. It's hard to say if they'll hit their November 20th goal. I guess we'll see more about the game hopefully on August 12th. But until then, you're just gonna have to wait. Legacy of Kain, supposedly a remastered version of Soul Reaver 1 and 2 was spotted at the San Diego Comic-Con. There was a booth that had some new figures, some new statues, I guess, that were from the Soul Reaver series. And Wario64 posted this on his Twitter account. Essentially, the little standee next to the figure that you could scan a QR code and see the pricing and stuff like that said Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered on it instead of just Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Now, this was taken down, I guess, a few hours after the initial photos started to go around. So I think that someone at this booth accidentally put the wrong thing out there before the main reveal. Why did they have these placeholders anyway, seeing as San Diego Comic-Con was only this weekend, and they haven't revealed anything about it at Comic-Con? So it's kind of weird. But these statues are coming from Dark Horse Comics. They'll be available sometime in August. People are thinking that maybe they're gonna announce a remaster of 1 and 2 all around the same time as well, or maybe they'll shadow drop it around the same time as well. We'll have to wait and see, but until then, kind of interesting. And finally, for the news today, Super Mario World is getting a Lego set. That's right. We got a look at the new Yoshi and Mario, Mario and Yoshi Lego set. This is not going to be related to the other Super Mario things where you can, have the little Mario guy and bounce him around on the Lego sets. No, this is one of those really high quality Lego builds, and you can build the kind of the cover of the game, where it looks like he's punching Yoshi in the back of the head. It kind of looks like that, but it's Mario riding Yoshi in the game, And the really cool thing about this is there's a crank on the back of it that you can move and turn. And if, every so often Yoshi will open his mouth and his tongue will come out, and his little arms, the Yoshi arms will be constantly like spinning like he's running, and his legs will be moving like he's running as well. So it's a pretty cool build. They've revealed more about the Lego set since this article came out, and I just talked about what they did reveal right there. Looks like if you're a collector of all things Mario, this is definitely going to be a must-have for your collection. It's a very high-quality Lego build set. It looks really good. Kind of like they recently also put out a different Mario thing that was really high quality. Oh, I have it right here. The Piranha Plant in Lego form. The Piranha Plant in Lego form. That was also a very high-quality build as well. Pre-orders for this product are live right now. The price for it is $130 on the official Lego website. It's made up of 1,214 pieces. So there you go. It's set to ship on October 1st. So if you're getting it for someone's birthday or Christmas, that would be the day that it would be shipped out. So looks like it's pretty cool. I really like this build. I'm probably not going to buy it myself, of course. That's a pretty high price point. But Lego has been raising their prices pretty steadily over the years, so it's par for the course, I guess. Okie dokie, let's move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. Astrobot, the official full game for the Astrobot series. It's still coming out in September. At the recent China Joy 2024 Expo, or whatever you want to call it, there was a full-fledged demo for the game. This included a couple of different sequences where you fight. You go through and you fight a couple enemies with like these boxing gloves. Then you latch onto a big slingshot and sling yourself forward to a boss arena where you fight small little octopus guys, and then there's a big octopus guy in the background who is punching through the sand and trying to fight you. Eventually, in the video, you move on to the person moves on to the next stage, which is in space, and Jack, a version from Jack and Daxter, an Astrobot that looks like Jack, is stolen by a UFO, and you chase him down. You try and chase him down and get Jack and save Jack. So that's pretty cool. They also showed off these new enemies that have like ball and chains with them, and they like swing them around themselves. It all looks really, really good. Like, I'm very excited for this game. This is an easy contender for like one of my most anticipated games for the rest of the year. There's just so much going on. Obviously, the recording is not that great, but the gameplay speaks for itself. It just looks so good. It looks like it's going to play so well. I cannot wait for this. This is like a 10-minute demo of the game too, so you get a real lot. You get a big chunk of stuff in there. They already came out and said that there's going to be 80 levels in the game, so I'm sure that there's a lot more than what this showing off. Of course, with even the small moments where you're in like in the overworld, because there's these segments where they're switching levels, and they go to this like outer space kind of thing with a bunch of levels that are locked or whatever, and there's a bunch of like little floating platforms that I'm guessing represent each level. So I'm guessing there's way more than what they showed off in the small sliver of that we saw. So pretty cool. I'm very excited for this. If you want to check out this gameplay, it's on A9VG's YouTube channel. I also posted it in the Discord. Looks really, really good. So check that out. Okay, Helldivers 2 is getting a new update on the PS5 and PC. It's going to have a bunch of new enemy types in there. And they've also rebalanced some things, redid some things with the difficulty levels. This update will be available August 6th. So, in a press release, the community manager named Catherine Baskin said, "As we stand here on the eve of the escalation of freedom, we reflect on the 6 months since launch. We could never have predicted how far this game would go and how many citizens would answer the Super Earth's call to arms. Having mastered 9 levels of difficulty, the Helldivers 2 community cries have been answered with a 10th setting called Super Helldive. They tease some rewards about the difficulty mode. Essentially, it's going to be the most challenging, most relentless, and hardest difficulty yet in any of the Helldivers games," which I mean, hey, more power to you if you're doing the hell dive mode. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. So this will be the 10th difficulty option for the game. They also promised to make the other game, like the other difficulties, a bit more varied with new objectives, bigger outposts to overthrow, etc. Also, if you play on the harder difficulties levels, you have the ability to get super sample rewards from the heavily fortified structures that you can take down. On the lower difficulties, you can you can find them on lower difficulties and harder difficulties as well. So that's actually pretty nice. Also, some new and returning enemies will be in the game starting on August 6th. So one of them is from the original Helldivers called the Impaler. It kind of looks like the tentacle monster from Half-Life. It pretty much essentially is the same thing. There's also a new Charger variant called the Spore Charger. Essentially what it does is it releases a spore cloud, a fog around itself to hide itself in. You won't really know where it is until it's right on top of you, which sounds just so much fun. And there's also going to be a new Terminated Alpha Commander type for the bugs. For the automatons, they were a bit more cryptic. They said there was going to be a rocket tank coming in, but a lot of the bots are going to be a big surprise. So I guess we don't really know what the bots are coming, and what the bots are getting new, except for this new rocket tank. The swamp areas of the game have been getting a revamp as well, with new fog features and more flora. Dark trees stop light from getting through. Keep your flashlight handy as visibility is limited in these areas. So it sounds like they're going to make these like covered areas with a bunch of forests that will turn daytime into nighttime essentially, which sounds kind of cool. They also talked about how if you leave a game early or if you're kicked due to griefing or whatever, any awards and stuff that you earned along the way with your squad, you will automatically get them when you go back to your ship. So that kind of will help negate any of the negatives from getting kicked just simply because you've been griefed or whatever. I don't know. But, I mean, this is a good update. Once again, I don't think I'm going to be getting back to this game anytime soon until they add like a new faction into the mix, because fighting robots, fighting insects is only so much fun for so long. It could not. It lasted a while for me. It certainly lasted a while for me, but in the end, I'm kind of done with the game for now, and we'll see what they do in the future. I'll keep updating you guys, but for now, I'm personally kind of done with it. But if you're still playing it, more power to you. You got some new stuff coming in. Good luck, soldier. Okay, let's talk about Concord. Where it's right around the corner at this point. It's not too far away, folks. If you're excited for this, the developer behind the game put out a big list of details about the game. How many maps and modes will be included at launch? There'll be 12 distinct maps with 6 different modes. More modes will be added in the future. I'm sure through updates and stuff like that. They said that all the updates will be free for the game, so that's also very nice. 6 of the modes, here are the 6 modes: Takedown, Trophy Hunt, Arena Area Control, Signal Chase, Clash Point, and Cargo Run. All those will be available day 1, which, once again, just sounds like the regular game modes. What kind of progression rewards are in the game? So you level up your character, you level up your profile in general. Those will all grant you new cosmetics and weapon skins and stuff like that. All the free gunners will be available from the get-go, so you don't need to wait to play as any of them, or you won't need to buy any of them. They also confirmed that any new characters coming in the future will not be a part of a battle pass. They said that there will be no battle pass in the game at all, which, I mean, a lot of people are praising. That is a pretty good idea, not to have a battle pass. I personally think that that's a good idea as well. Put it all out on the table. Give the people what they want. They wanted to focus their attention on making Concord a rewarding and robust experience on day 1. There will be post-launch content, like I said before, but it's all going to be free updates. There will be seasonal updates and regular updates as well. There will be more cinematics to build on the characters for the game. As I talked about a couple weeks ago when I played the Concord closed beta, they're trying to interject some character stuff into this game. It's just not really that compelling or interesting because it's like a 5-minute cutscene that you watch as the game launches. It's not even centered around the characters that you choose for your free runner group. It's just kind of tacked on, it feels like. But they will still have more brief cinematics, which will allow you to learn more about the characters and the lore of the Concord Galaxy. What else did they say? What other kinds of progression rewards will be in the game? They said there will be more unlockable items in the game. I think I already read that, didn't I? Let me move on here. How many free runners will be in the game? The base game will have 16 playable free runners. The variants will be unlockable through progression, and also they will add more through updates. Will the game have a early leaving penalty? To ensure that teams are complete and evenly matched throughout the game, it is a priority for them. We are exploring a variety of methods, including leaver penalty systems, to incentivize players to start and stay in complete teams. People also asked, will the Galactic Guide be available at launch? Yes, the Galactic Guide is an important part of how you journey and I don't think anyone was asking about this. The Galactic Guide. Oh, I hope that there's lore in this game. No shit, there's lore in this game. Fuck off. Here's what they said about the solo modes. Will there be solo PvP modes like free-for-all? At launch, we have 6 distinct 5v5 team-based modes, which range from more approachable respawn-based modes like Trophy Hunt to more competitive modes like Cargo Run, all of which can be queued as a solo player. We will not have a solo-specific mode at launch, but our lineup will grow over time through regular content updates. Will there be any form of training mode in the game? Alongside trying out different free gunners in matches, at launch you will also be able to familiarize yourself with the core mechanics and movements and select characters and abilities through a single-player training mode. So if you're wondering if there's going to be a single-player mode for the game, not really, but there is a training mode, which will probably maybe give you some more insight into the character themselves. Obviously, it'll give you a lot of practice with the character. I'm hoping that they have some sort of bot mode or something like that eventually in the future. It's hard to say what exactly they're going to do. It's hard to say. It's hard to say how popular this game is going to be. How long will they support this game? It's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know if this is really going to work out the way that they want to, per se. I'm very concerned about the longevity of this game right now. It's a first-party Sony game that probably should be put back into the oven to cook for a little bit longer, maybe retool some things. I mean, obviously, at this point, you can't change it into a Guardians of the Galaxy style renegade squad of dudes in a co-op adventure. At this point, it is what it is. I just don't know how many months this game has, let alone years. So there you go. To maybe boost some interest in this game in Concord, Sony is going to be releasing a PS5 controller. It kind of has like that Concord retro style streaks to it, with a little bit of constellations in the background and the ship boosting forward on the side. I mean, it looks fine. It's not as cool as the Spider-Man one, that's for sure. It's barely even cooler than like the LeBron James controller, but it is something if you want to try it, if you want to buy it. It's gonna be launching at $85 price tag, which is a bit much in my opinion. I'll probably, if I am going to pick this up, it'll probably be in the bargain bin for like 50 or less eventually down the road. They said that the limited edition PS5 controller will arrive late in August. August 23rd is the planned release date for that. So there you go. And then also, Concord is going to be rolling out character trailers throughout the next couple of weeks until the launch of the game on August 23rd. They've already got trailers for Jabali, who uses like that energy gun and has like the orbs that I was talking about a few weeks ago. Also Tio, who is like the Soldier 76 of the game. He can see through smoke and stuff with his infrared scope. He has an assault rifle and grenades. And Itzy, which is the furry bait. I hate to say it, the furry bait in the game. She's got like a long tail and she's got like a kind of like a lizard-esque body to her. They showed off her different like teleporting abilities, the SMG that she has and stuff like that. So there will be animated shorts for each and every character going through their different skill sets, but there's also going to be an animated series as well to kind of dive into the character's backstories. So I guess with every release of these like character introductions, they also have like a little background animated trailer for these three characters working together in some way, which I mean is kind of fun. It does go to show that like Sony really is investing their time and money into this, but it is one of those things that's like, oh, I don't know. Are they spending too much money on this? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how it performs in the near future. All right, Shadows of the Damned Hella Remastered is coming out in around Halloween, for only $25. Now, this is going to be just a digital release, I'm pretty sure. Maybe eventually down the road we'll get like a limited run games or a super rare games release of the game. But as of right now, it'll be just $25. You can actually pre-order it now on any of the different respective storefronts that it's going to be available on, including Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. There was a trailer released on the Grasshopper Archives YouTube channel, which was pretty cool, really stylish, kind of, went into the game a little bit. I thought it was a pretty good trailer. They also went into detail on the new stuff for the game. So this is a 4K remaster, so the original PS3 game will be put into 4K. There's also going to be a new game plus option with 4 bonus costumes. Join the crass Garcia Hotspur and his bony buddy Johnson as they traverse the depths of the underworld to steal back Garcia's kidnapped lover Paula from the clutches of Fleming, the Lord of the Underworld. So 4 extra costumes for the New Game Plus mode. Oh, I'm sorry. It seems like there will be a physical version too, provided by... I was right! Limited Run Games is going to do a physical version of the game, so... I'm guessing that the physical version is going to be a bit more pricey, probably around $40, which is their norm for their games. So if you want to wait for the physical version, it's probably going to be a little bit pricier, but it's also going to come out at a later date. But if you don't care about that kind of thing, you can get the digital version for $25 on the storefronts, as I said, if you want to check that out. So there you go. If you want to check that out, like I said, the new trailer is available right now. This year has been kind of the year of like weird remasters and remakes. We got the Dead Rising Deluxe remaster coming out. We got Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, and now Shadow of the Damned is coming out in October. So it's kind of like a steady stream of like these kind of weird, more niche remasters. But I will accept them. I will accept them. I never played Shadow of the Damned. Looks pretty fun though. I guess I can't wait. I can wait, but I also can't wait. Speaking of limited run games, they're going to be releasing a Blu-ray documentary for Double Fine's development on Psychonauts 2 called Psych Odyssey. So this is coming from Limited Run Games, like I said. It's a 7-disc documentary series on the entire development of Psychonauts 2 from conception to release and beyond. They said it's like 7 hours of footage, behind the scenes footage and stuff like that, which is pretty crazy. This is a rare look at the development on games. So if you're a person who's maybe aspiring to be a game developer, this could be kind of cool to get and watch the process behind the scenes. There will only be 2,000 units made for this, so it's going to be pretty exclusive. There will be 8 region-free Blu-ray discs. 6 of them will feature the 33-episode documentary itself, while the other 2 will add 13 more hours of bonus content, including never-before-seen footage. Also, in the box, there's going to be an 80-page booklet named Documenting the Journey, and pre-orders are going to begin actually available right now. On July 26th, they started. They're going to be open until August 25th. It's actually a pretty pricey thing, though. I looked at it online a second ago. $75 for this Blu-ray set, which is a lot. It's a fair amount of money, I will say. But if you're interested in that, if you're a fan of Psychonauts and Double Fine in general, this is definitely going to be something that you might want to pick up. Me personally, I would love to pick this up, but yeah, it's a bit much for something that I probably would watch once. I hope to in the future, hopefully eventually they release this on like Hulu or Netflix or something, because I would love to watch it, but getting the physical version is just a bit too pricey. Okay, Lollipop Chainsaw Repop Cheerleader Edition. The collector's edition of the game has been revealed. And what's inside? What's inside this cheerleader here? So on top of getting all the stuff for the digital edition of the game, like a couple new costumes, hair varieties, etc., etc. It'll come with a keychain of the boyfriend's head, a double-sided lollipop chainsaw coin, it kind of looks like a art. It is an art book. It's an art book for Lollipop Chainsaw. Kind of looks like a yearbook of the school. There will be a physical version of the soundtrack, and then there's also a statue of the titular character holding her chainsaw with her boyfriend on her hip in her signature cheerleader outfit. If you want to pre-order that, it's on Limited Run Games. Talking about Limited Run Games, for $150, which is actually not as bad as most of their collector's editions. This is estimated to ship between May 1st and 31st of next year. You can also pre-order the base game itself, which is going to be coming a little bit sooner than that. Here it is. Oh my gosh, I was about to lose my mind. So the regular version of the game is estimated to ship in December, so it's going to be there a little bit earlier than the collector's edition if you want to check that out. All right, Beetlejuice and Samurai Jack are going to be joining the fight, along with a tease for Wacko from Animaniacs. So Beetlejuice, there's no official release date for him yet, but he is coming soon. Samurai Jack, though, he was shown off in the latest trailer on PlayStation's YouTube channel and Multiverse's YouTube channel, showing off his moveset. Samurai Jack will be available in the game. Actually, he's available right now. And Beetlejuice is coming at a little bit of a later date. In the background of the final frame of this, or maybe not the final frame, but the little Season 2 thingamajig, Wacko from Animaniacs' head is in the background. I'm guessing either he's going to be a solo character, or it's going to be kind of like an Ice Climbers thing where they have all three of the Animaniacs in there. I don't know, but that's pretty exciting as well. So this new Season 2 is called Back in Time. It's going to be introducing a ranked mode as well as the Water Tower as a new map, which will be, obviously, it was inspired by the iconic Water Tower Warner Bros. Thingamajiggy. You can also find a first look at the new arena for Samurai Jack, as well as a bunch of gameplay for him in the trailer as well. And yeah, I mean, he looks fine. You know, I'm not going to be getting back into multiverses anytime soon, but he looks fine. He looks pretty good. I don't think they really encapsulated the show with his character like they did with a lot of other ones, but, you know, I don't know. I shouldn't judge before it's out, of course, but there you go. There you go. Halo has gotten a Game Boy demake, a Game Boy Color demake. This is actually available to play right now. You can either download the software and put it onto a Game Boy cartridge or something like the Analog Pocket, or you can play Halo Combat Devolved in an internet browser by going to https://sofaswordsman.itch.io/halo-combat-devolved. If you want to run the game, it's super simple. You pretty much just go to the page, press Run Game. You can also download it as well. It pretty much encapsulates the first 2 levels of the game. I have not played it yet myself, but it looks like it's pretty faithful to the game itself. Pretty cool. Movement and speed. Obviously the Game Boy is very limited, so you have of course the D-pad for the left, right, up, and down. The A button is like the jump button, I guess, or something like that. B is going to be shoot. Select is going to give you like a weapon select, I'm guessing, and start, of course, gives you the main menu. But yeah, it's pretty cool to look at. I'll probably check it out this next week. Once again, this is not a full finished product, though, so he's still working. The person who's behind it is still working on it. So we'll see how much more they do of the game. But as of right now, pretty cool. Pretty cool thing to see indeed. And unlike Nintendo, Xbox isn't planning on taking this down right now. But once again, I do warn any publication out there, if you highlight something like this that is copyrighted material, that's being, has something like this happening to it, you run the risk of exposing them to someone who will care about it. So, just saying. And finally for today, Modern Warfare 3. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is officially on Xbox Game Pass. It's been put up on there on July 24th. It is a 200 gigabyte download. That includes the campaign in its entirety, the multiplayer mode, the Warzone Zombies mode, or whatever it's called, the Zombies mode, and I believe it also downloads Warzone in general. Unlike on the PS4 and Steam, you can't just download parts of the game that you want to play. So if you are interested in just the campaign and you don't have, you know, a PlayStation, it on PlayStation or anything like that, you will have to download the entire package. So make sure you have enough room for that. I personally really did not like Modern Warfare 3. I thought it was a cash grab. The level design was terrible. The story was awful. The multiplayer was fine, but it was just a, you know, continuation of the Modern Warfare 2 from last year that was, you know, pretty good. The new maps weren't designed for the new style of Modern Warfare gameplay. They did a bunch of they remastered every single Modern Warfare 2 map from the original game, and it just didn't work as well. And the zombies mode was boring, and I don't like Warzone, so yeah, it was not for me at all. I thought that it was a pretty terrible release, especially a full price release. But now it's on Game Pass. You can check it out if you want to at no additional cost, and you can see just how shitty it actually is. Or maybe you'll love it. I don't know. I'm not you. Maybe you'll love it. Try it out if you want to. It's available now. It is available for the Game Pass Ultimate tier for Game Pass. Just FYI. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is Guess That Song. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, I will give you a heart and a congratulations in the YouTube comments. Or if you head over to the Ferret64 Discord, link in the description below, you can comment the name of the song and the game it came from there, and I will give you a super reaction. Let's hear this week's song right now. Okay, if you know the name of the song and the game it came from, let me know in the comments below or on the Discord. Just as a hint, again, a lot of times a song is from a game that I talked about on the episode. So keep your ears open and your mind open as well. Ooh. If you don't mind, I would really appreciate you slapping a like on the YouTube video. If you don't mind, if you listen to it and you like what you heard. Also, you can rate me 5 stars on Spotify or whatever you feel like is appropriate, or leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. I've been trying to get the podcast on more platforms, so you may start to see it pop up on other things like Castbox and iHeartRadio. If you're listening on any other platform other than Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube, it's a surprise, but a welcomed one. Thank you so much, everyone. If you want to check me out, I'm YemmytheFerret on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, etc. We stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday right now. We're going through a contest in the Discord. We're choosing games at random with marble races. We're getting into our final month, which is August, for the summer backlog bonanza. If you want to tune in, those are the days you can tune in there. I also run a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z, where we talk about movies. The latest episode is about Independence Day, if you want to check that out. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. I will talk at you next week. I'm YemmytheFerret, and I'm out of here. So long.
The Ferret64 podcast is owned and edited by YemmytheFerret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by YemmytheFerret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.